Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order on May 8th, 2018. Ms. Lindsay Parrish, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Abraham?
Present.
Commissioner Holland?
Present.
Commissioner Rhodes?
Here.
Commissioner Wilson?
Present.
Mayor Harless?
Present and here. Commissioner Holland, would you lead us in an invocation? If you all would stand with us, please.
Dear Lord, we meet to serve our community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognize our responsibility to the past and to the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. As trusted servants, we seek blessings on our deliberations and on our efforts here today. May we act wisely and well. Amen.
Amen. If you'll stay standing for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. You may be seated. All right. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
There are none.
All right. Okay, before we jump into our special Dogwood Trail Awards tonight, we have a few proclamations to do together. First up, we have the second year running for Mr. Bill Ford. Is he in here still? Come on up, buddy. Last year, actually, former Mayor Kaler asked us to do this very special thing for Bill Ford, and we're happy to do this again. And yesterday was your birthday, correct?
That was my birthday.
Yes, happy birthday to you. And this is a proclamation for what we have deemed Beaux Tie Day here in Paducah. And I'll read this, and if you want to make any comments, you're welcome to afterwards at the podium if you want to. Yeah, whichever way you want to do it. Yeah, okay, all right. Okay, here we go. To all to whom these presents shall come, whereas Bill Ford has been a leading residential and commercial interior designer and artist in Paducah for more than 25 years, and whereas his devotion to our community is evidenced in his wall-to-wall floodwall murals coloring book to fund the floodwall mural maintenance, and whereas his collection of original pen and ink drawings that accompany articles from the community titled From Paducah with Love highlights our city's landmarks as they are today, and whereas Bill Ford's contributions to local art and charity have been an example for so many, and his leadership an example to follow. Now, therefore, in honor of all the contributions Bill Ford has made to the community, I, Brandy Harless, Mayor of Paducah, Kentucky, do hereby declare that May 7th, 2018 be Beaux Tie Day in Paducah, and encourage all citizens to donate to their favorite nonprofit in his honor. Let's give him a round of applause for that.
Well, it's working, and I think it's going to grow and work. I received a wonderful little birthday card yesterday from a lady that had turned 101 years old, and she told me that she had sent a check the day before to United Methodist Church for $101 for my birthday. And I don't know what they've given, because they don't send the money to me, and you write at the bottom of your check, Beaux Tie Day, and you go by your age. If you're 20, send $20 or quadruple it. And I gave to 5 different organizations, and what I did is a bowl, and I sat down and wrote down every organization in town I could think of that needed money. And then I reached in and pulled 5 out for me to donate to, because I knew I couldn't afford to donate to all of them. I wanted to. And so that way I felt like that was fair. And I hope this reaches a lot of people, and I think the bow tie is a happy thing. It makes you feel good. And I was at a meeting at Merriman House the other day and met a lady for the first time, and when she walked in, she said, "Oh, excuse me, but are you Mr. Beaux Tie?" But thank you, and the city and the mayor and everybody so much for believing in this, and I think it's another good thing for our city for people to take part in so many organizations that are so needed and need our help so badly. And God bless every one of you.
I'm going to bring this to you.
Very honored.
Ms. Ford. Mr. Ford, before you leave, I just want you to know I had the bow tie on all day today. Yeah. I don't have it on now, but we represented well over PTHS all day.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, sir.
You always look good at bow tie. I've seen you wear them.
Oh, talk slow now.
This man's
Talk
a talented artist. This is a talented artist, too. I want you to know.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Happy birthday. All right, next up we have another proclamation for National Gun Violence Awareness Day, and Ashley Valentine Hall is here. If you want to come up to the podium, I'll read this, and then you can make some statements if you'd like. All right. Whereas every day, over 90 Americans are killed by gun violence and countless others are injured, and whereas Americans are 25 times more likely to be murdered by firearms than people in other developed countries, and whereas the organizers of the National Gun Violence Awareness Day propose that residents of the United States wear orange on June 2nd, 2018, to raise awareness of and to honor those who have fallen victim to gun violence. And whereas wearing the color orange has been chosen as a way to commemorate victims and survivors of gun violence because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters when out in the woods, and orange has thus been taken to symbolize the value of human life. And whereas promoting public safety serves the best interest of the Paducah community, and whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to support the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens by encouraging responsible gun ownership to help keep our community safe. Now, therefore, on behalf of the City of Paducah, Kentucky, I, Brandy Harless, Mayor of the City of Paducah, declare June 2nd, 2018 to be Gun Violence Awareness Day in the city and encourage members of our community who wish to honor those who have been victimized by gun violence to wear orange on that day. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you, Commissioners and Mayor Harless. My name is Ashley Valentine, and I'm a Paducah member of the Paducah chapter of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. I want to take a moment to thank you for your time. Wear Orange and National Gun Violence Awareness Day were inspired by Project Orange Tree, an awareness campaign started by Nazari Kepra and her friends to commemorate the life of their murdered friend, Hadia Pendleton, and other victims of everyday gun violence. Orange is the color that Hadia's friends wore in her honor after she was shot and killed in Chicago at the age of 15, just 1 week after performing at President Obama's second inaugural parade in 2013. In June 2015, on what would have been Hadia's 18th birthday, a broad-based coalition launched the first National Gun Violence Awareness Day. Participants were asked to stand up, speak out, and wear orange to honor Hadia's life and the lives of all victims and survivors of gun violence. The color orange has a long and proud history in gun violence prevention movement, whether it's worn by hunters in the woods, gun violence prevention activists, or by Hadia's loved ones in Chicago. Orange honors the 96 lives cut short and the hundreds more wounded by gun violence in America every day, including in our surrounding community. The theme of Wear Orange 2018 is Use Your Voice. This is a moment to make clear that we can create a future free of gun violence. This proclamation is a testament to the resilience of Paducah and surrounding county residents, as well as an opportunity for students, educators, survivors, companies, and neighbors to join together to say never again to the gun violence that permeates our schools, churches, theaters, homes, and streets. We cannot thank the Paducah City Commission enough for your kindness and empathy for their survivors in our area in proclaiming June 2nd, 2018, Gun Violence Awareness Day. We can and do hope for a better tomorrow, free of gun violence for our children, our grandchildren, our friends and neighbors in this wonderful and compassionate community that we all call home. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley.
Can I say something?
Please, absolutely.
I just wanted to say thank you to the work Krista and Ashley are done, and all the moms and Moms Demand Action, of which I'm a proud member. Ashley and I went to high school together. We were both at Heath High School during the shooting in 1997. So this issue is very close to my heart, and I know to hers. And I think, you know, our community has shown such love and compassion around these issues. And what I'm so proud to see now is such passion and action towards finding a solution for my children as I've chosen to bring them back to this community. So thank you.
Thank you all. All right, we're going to move into the Dogwood Trail Awards. Thank you, Dogwoods, for finally blooming in Paducah so that we could have this day.
Absolutely.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome to the podium, Jack.
Last but not least, I thought we would never get to this day, but 3 snows later, here we are. And I'm Jackie Smith. I am this year's Dogwood Chair. And these are my co-chairs, Dabney Hall and Carol Vanderboot. And they have been wonderful and helpful. We have had such a good time doing this. We've whined a little bit about the snow, but we've had a great time. And we just owe so many people thank you. So we'd like to start out by saying thank you to some of those people. First that comes to mind is Mr. Henry Barber, who actually maps out the trail for us. He is a member of the Beautification Board too, and he works very hard every year. He's meticulous with his signs and does more than anybody could possibly know. So we just really appreciate Henry. And we would like to thank all of the Dogwood Trail, all of the Civic Beautification Board for participating, for walking the trail, for encouraging everyone to light up. Most of all, we would like to thank the citizens of Paducah. They make the trail. We have people come over here from 5 and 6 states away to drive our trail, and we've won national awards this year. We have a lot of accolades for our trail, and I think it's because of the participation of and the community spirit that we have in our town that we have such a success every year. That said, we also have some people who work for the city who have helped us so much. Mr. Les Evans has lighted all of the medians down Broadway, and I think they said Jefferson and Kyler Park, and they planted new dogwoods this year, and he's made those look beautiful. Mr. Paul Aho, who is the director over at the Paducah School of Art and Design, he organized and conducted our art contest this year, and we appreciate him very much. And last but not least, certainly, is Mr. Arthur Boykin, who we've changed on week after week after week after week. He conducted the trolley ride, and he was so generous with us and so patient as we changed our minds so many times. So we really do owe a big thank you to him and his drivers. But we had, it was so hard for us to choose this year. Everyone just was wonderful, and we went through and we started out, we would have picked 10 winners, and we ended up with 13 because we just couldn't decide. There were so many worthy people. So this year we have a new presentation for our winners. Carol Vanderboot, who is one of the Dogwood chairs, is also an artist, and she has created the beautiful dogwood pens. I have one of them on. Some of you may have one that you have purchased in the past, but this year all winners will receive a dogwood pen, and she hand-painted certificates commemorating your win on the Dogwood Trail this year, so you'll also receive those. We'd also like for you to stop by the reception table outside and pick up we have all your photographs out there of each of your homes, and we would like for you to take one home with you to commemorate your win. So that said, we're going to start with the winners of the art contest. And I don't know how many are here tonight, but we have art and photography winners both. So in the art division, the 3rd place went to Miss Barbara Harris. And our 2nd place,
She's here. Yeah.
Is she here? Okay, great. Please come forward, Barbara. And the art and the photography, the art and the photography winners, their work is displayed down at the art school. Now, if you would like to stop by someday and see the winners, they are all on display. So 2nd place went to Carol Tribone. Okay, Carol Tribone. Congratulations. And our winner this year is Miss Deborah K. Talbert. Yes. I think that's a teaching face. I think I know this way. Okay, and then in our photography division, 3rd place went to Miss Cindy Jones. second place went to Miss Phyllis Russell. Don't know if Phyllis is here. We'll give her award to her since she couldn't be with us tonight. And our winner was Miss Stephanie Young.
Jackie, do you mind giving a brief explanation of how to enter these contests before we move on?
Of course. Next year, if you would like to be a part of the contest, you can go on the website and at the, I think it's Paducah Gov, is it?
PaducahKY.gov.
PaducahKY.gov, and you will find links and you can pick up your entry forms. We'll probably be able to pick them up at the Paducah School of Art and Design if they're so gracious as to host us again next year. And that's where you can get the forms and you can find more information about the deadlines. We try to publicize it the best we can, but sometimes I know everyone's busy and might not see everything. So if you can go on the website, you'll be able to find your entry forms and print them there. And I think this year we had 3 days where we accepted entries, the 23rd through the 25th, which was actually after the original planned trail. And we did that because we thought it would be fun if the photography contest could actually be current pictures. So you could go out this year and it might encourage more people to get involved. So, but then nature took its course and it is what it is. So,
Thank you.
Okay. So I forgot to mention someone, and I would be remiss if I did not mention Ro Morris, who is just so supportive and helpful to us during the Dogwood Trail. She's so wise, and she has shared so much information and help over the years that we just need to really lend her a thank you and say, you know, that we know how much she means to this community. Mm-hmm. So that said, okay, we have on-trail winners and off-trail winners. And we'll start with our on-trail winners. And our first on-trail winner is Todd and Bethany Jones. Todd and Bethany live at 351 Wallace Lane. So nice to see young couples get involved in our community. And congratulations. The next winners are Carl and Polly Laboon. I don't know if Carl and Polly are here, but we'll make sure they have their award.
Maybe they're watching on TV.
Okay. Right. Carl and Polly live at 644 Woodland Drive. And the interesting story about their dogwood that won was it was a seedling from her mother's dogwood that she planted 25 years ago. And so she grew hers from a baby.
That little section of woodland is amazing.
It is amazing. It is. It's quite the picture. Okay. So then we have Jan and Neil Scott. Are they here tonight? Jan and Neil live at 2216 Jefferson Street. And the Jefferson Street was particularly beautiful this year. We noticed it was so hard to choose. I don't know, the pink seemed pinker and the white seemed whiter.
I have a question since we have the dogwood experts up here. Is there a pink dogwood and a red dog? Like some, okay. I thought so.
Right, yeah, right.
Yeah, there's red and then there's like these really pretty baby pink ones.
Yeah, the real soft,
Yeah.
almost like blush.
Yes.
There's quite a few varieties.
I knew y'all would know.
Yep, that's true. Okay, and then we have Charles and Gail Ransler. And Charles and Gail live at 2830 Broadway. And they had a gorgeous display. Lots and lots and lots of dogwoods. Thank you. Congratulations. Our next winners are Stan and Missy Eckenberg. We'll make sure Stan and Missy receive their awards. And then we have Jim Landry and Hillary Chambers. So this is so sweet because they're engaged. They're starting off really right.
Dogwood blessing.
Thank you. Okay, and then we have Chuck and Janelle Tate. And they're not here tonight, so we're going to put theirs aside. Then we have Mary and Jarvis Macklin. They live at 4710 Buckner Lane.
Oh, yeah.
And we saw them Thursday night. When the trolley came by, we saw Mr. Macklin out mowing the yard. And okay. And our last on-trail winner is Brian and Mary Katz. And they live at 4615 Quail Hollow Drive. And we'll make sure they get their award as well. Okay? And now we have off-trail winners, too. The first one is Miss Tara Bryan. Tara really had the spirit. She kept hers lit for 3 weeks. Nice. We appreciate that. She lives at 205 Minerva Place. And then we have Randall and Sherry Chanel. Chanel. And they live at 298 Alvin Barkley Drive. Thank you. We have, okay, Max and Susan Sakarnowski. I said it right. Max and Susan live at 3260 Jefferson Street. And I think they're the ones that had the beautiful flag. And did you have a flag? Yes. Yes. We always try to encourage everyone to put out their American flags. It's just, even if you don't have a dogwood, it's so nice to honor the veterans, and hopefully next year, everybody, if you don't have a flag, if you don't have, we'll bring you a flag. We'll get you a flag. Okay, so, and our final off-the-trail winner is Hal and Debbie Sullivan. Hal and Debbie live at 3905 Alvin Barkley Drive. And all of the winners received the certificate and the pin, and then they received a cash award as well. So hopefully we'll encourage everybody who might be listening tonight to, if you didn't light up last year, light up next year. And those who didn't win, it's a whole new ball game next year. So join us next year.
I hope you do another trolley ride, because me and my little boys came and we're late and it was full, and my 6-year-old burst into tears and he did not get to go to the. I mean, it might have been more about the trolley than the dogwoods, but we can pretend it was about the church.
Yeah.
So that was a hit, I think.
Yeah, they were full. Yeah,
they were
really
both full.
excited.
Yeah, we came up, there was no more room.
We might have to do 2 rounds next.
Yeah, maybe 2 days.
Yeah. Okay.
That's great. Thank you,
Thank you.
ladies, for your hard work.
hard
Thank
work.
you so much.
Thank you so much.
Let the crowd disperse. Have a good evening, everyone.
Congratulations.
I mean, you're welcome to stay.
But we understand if you
This
don't.
makes me feel sad. Oh, wait, I was going to tell them I'll take them home.
So, this is both of us. I used to have an electrical connector from JB Weld.
So everyone is gone. Bye.
Floor plan said, Tim, I can't get there. I said, I'll burn it.
Yeah, everybody can tell. Our whole family is here.
So the new ones are
Are they the exact same?
It's similar, but they're made
All right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yep. I need to give you this anyway. You want to come down here?
How are you?
Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Chrissy, you need me to take it so you're in it? Well, why don't
Thank
do
you,
it?
guys.
Well, here, what,
I got it.
trying to be like a kid.
All right. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the Board of Commissioners and will be, Martin, do you mind I knew you were on it. Thank you very much. And will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member so requests. Anyone have anything they need to take off the consent agenda tonight? All right. At this time, I'll ask Lindsay to read the items recommended for approval.
Minutes for the April 24th, 2018 City Commission meeting. Receive and file documents.
The roof.
Sorry.
Personnel.
Hey, someone changed their mind.
Oh, okay.
And that someone's name is?
Commissioner Allen Rhodes.
Commissioner Allen. I like
farther down.
Commissioner Allen Rhodes changed his
Commissioner
mind.
Allen.
Would you please call out the item you'd like to remove?
Item number 4,
Okay.
C4.
C4.
C4. Something, isn't that an explosive C4? Is that an explosive C4? I think it is, yeah. Oh, hi, Adam. Blow it up.
Okay. Now, if you don't mind, you could read the other items recommended for approval.
Okay. Receive and file documents, personnel actions, a municipal order authorizing the planning department to apply for an online grant through the Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation grant portal to request $15,000 for the fire department to purchase public education and engagement equipment. A municipal order accepting the bid of Michael L. Taylor in the amount of $326 plus recording and deed preparation fees for real property located at 1320 Oscar Cross Avenue and authorizing the mayor to execute a deed and all other documents necessary to complete the sale.
All right. I make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay.
Take your pick.
Seconds.
And with that, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Holland,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Harless.
Aye. And then if you don't mind reading the motion for the removed item.
A municipal order accepting the bid of Minter Roofing in the total amount of $144,070 for roof replacement for the Civic Center and the Probation and Parole Building, and authorizing the mayor to execute a contract for same.
So moved. Second.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Rhodes, you're on.
Well, it seems like that we're going to have a committee to study the, I believe Rick says we own about 30 buildings
That's
around
correct.
the city. And so all I was thinking is that maybe we could not approve the convention center tonight, just to say. is the
Civic
thing-
Center.
I mean, the Civic Center, sorry, we don't own the convention center. The Civic Center, wrong building, same purpose. That, as we explore all of our holdings around town, that certainly if, and I'm not saying we would ever decide to sell the Civic Center, but if we did, why would you put a roof on it if you decided that maybe you don't need to be in the Civic Center business? So I'm just saying, take a breath, wait 90 days or whatever, let the committee sort of grind through the buildings, and if it's fine, it's fine.
What's the current state of the roof?
It's leaking. It's about 35, 40-year-old roof. There's actually two separate roofs. It's what they call a built-up roof, and that's on the main portion, and then there's a membrane roof that's on the front portion. So we were, and the membrane roof is what's going with bid to go back on, and the membrane roof that's on there now is like 20 years old, and it's used. It's at its warranty period, and what we was wanting to do was get it all under one roof, rather than have part of the roof with one warranty and another part of the roof with no warranty on that. And
So this is for all of it.
This is for the entire Civic Center, as well as we had this money budgeted over in the Parks Department for, Mark, 2 years. And we're getting to that point where it's starting to leak pretty bad. And so we tried to replace the roof on it for that reason. And we're just exercising where the money was put, and we put these two projects together for economies of scale, because the probation and parole roof that's over here, that we do get a very good lease from the state on. But those two projects are together in one package. So I don't know whether or not the contractor would be willing to do that. I'm not saying he will. I'm not saying he won't.
Well, I'm not
but
saying
the two were put together in one bid package for that. So
But it sounds like the Civic Center does need.
it is
roof
leaking.
repair. It's
Yes,
used a lot.
yes.
And I would think even if our use of that building changed, it would still be of more value with the roof on it, a new roof on it.
It sounds like if we wanted to delay we have delayed the roof. We've used up all our delays. I think that I understand what you're saying. It just sounds like we've sort of used those to the delays for other reasons, waiting to save the money, as opposed to using it to have a conversation about the building, which I do think we should have. But I don't know. I'm assuming people have reserved the building, and I hate to have people paying to use a building with a leaky roof.
Well, okay, I mean, I spent several days there on the Rotary Quilter. It's not like it's a flood.
The women's bathroom is leaking.
Yes, the women's bathroom.
Did you spend some time in the women's
That's
bathroom?
after I plunged it one day.
He heard that through hearsay.
It's no big deal either way.
The money has been budgeted.
Yes.
It's already set
It is
aside.
budgeted, and the two roofs combined come in budget.
So did we need a motion? then?
No, it's already on the table.
Just gonna vote for it.
Yeah.
What do you mean for? I mean, I would say wait 120 days, let your committee see if it's about the status of all these buildings, and you'll probably end up doing it, but that's just me.
There may be a complicating factor as well, though, for
With
this with contractor, because his bid is good for 60 days, and we did put a project out on the street, and now as a result of that, this decision, if we were to take it off the table, I don't know that he would honor the balance of his bid because of the quantity and all of it, because he bid two buildings. And I don't know whether or not they get volume discounts on their materials or not, but I don't know on that.
I think we should move forward with
I
it.
do. I think this is an opportunity for us just to take a second and think about the way that we consider the funds being spent. If the staff had a go-ahead because of the budget process that was occurring last year that said, and we all said yes to the way that our money was going to be spent, then if we had a change of heart, it probably should have come from a budget perspective, maybe not from on the back side of this, which is towards the end of the process. So, we are about to enter in a budget season. I think that just means that we need to be, our awareness needs to be heightened about us as the commission. Really, one of our main jobs is to set the budget for the city. So if we're uncomfortable spending money on these kinds of things, we need to express that during this upcoming budget sessions, and maybe not so much on this end, which is something I hadn't actually thought about when we talked earlier about this.
I get that. But I guess I'd submit that a year ago now, we weren't thinking about the pension monies that we've got to spend, and admittedly, with phasing, the immediate pressure is off. But hey, as you all know, I'm pretty much the cheapskate. I'll admit it. My wife has admitted it for 42 years, or accuses me of it for 42 years. It's fine. It's really fine either way we go.
But I think the other point is too that
but we didn't know about this. We did not know. Right. We would maybe look at it differently today. My guess is that budget this year will probably be much more hawkish or skinflinty than we were.
As we should be. That's
As
right.
we should be.
That's right. Yep.
So,
well, again,
it's
also
fine.
deferred maintenance is something that was a theme when I took office last year. You're sitting in a building that has experienced deferred maintenance, and so I think that this commission has pretty well said we don't want to do deferred maintenance anymore. Reducing our number of buildings that we own at some point in the future would be smart, and we all have agreed on that, I'm pretty certain, especially the
And
staff.
as you all know,
So,
the five of you all, I'm putting you in this grinder, is that I've constantly complained about that. And my guess is that nothing will happen between now and December when I slide away, and so you all have outweighted me. So
It might be your legacy project. You never know.
Don't worry, we'll call you back
All
to
right.
paint things.
Any other comment, discussion about this item? No. Okay. Would you call roll, please?
Commissioner Abraham?
Aye.
Commissioner Holland?
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Harless?
Aye. Commissioner Wilson, do you have a motion?
I do. I move that a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order of the City of Paducah, Kentucky, approving 2 core elements of the city's strategic plan, vision and key performance areas and objectives, and directing the city manager and his staff to establish the mission and organizational values for the strategic plan and prepare an implementation action plan for the final core element of the strategic plan be adopted."
Second.
All right. I think there is a little bit of a discussion of interest on this.
Yeah, just I just want to make sure that we understand this process. So this is brought tonight pretty much as giving our staff the go-ahead to implement what I call the details of how this is going to work. And then August, is it August? It's brought back as a municipal order. And anytime between now and then, within those details, if there's any questions or aha moments or anything like that, we talk about those prior to, or do we discuss them when the details are brought? Just want to make sure everybody understands how that we're not voting on this whole thing to be implemented because it doesn't have any legs yet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you said for the staff to implement. I think it's for
not
the staff to develop.
To develop, yeah.
Well,
not
develop.
implement. Yeah.
I mean,
It will be implemented after we approve it. Right now, it's
correct,
just,
right.
yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. The idea was that we're giving the staff the general direction and things to explore for implementation in the future. If you noticed in the attachment, there is a document that actually Michelle has done a great job of creating, and that has a number of different titles of columns, and these are the types of things that the staff will develop. What types of measures can we use to decide what our baseline is? What is our current performance on those measures? What would our target be, knowing our current performance?
Right.
What year is reasonable to imagine we can accomplish these things? What service areas need to be developed? And then what are those key tasks and the next steps? So that is a lot of work, as you can imagine, for each of these. And that's what we're asking the staff to come back to us with in August to say, okay, here's your general direction, Commission. Here's what it could look like. Now, they might come back as they dig in and say, this objective is not even realistic.
Right.
And they will draw a line through it and say, sorry, we can't figure this one out. And then we can say, all right, how about we adjust that, or whatever it may be. I'll leave it up to the staff. If there's a moment in time between now and August 30th, they want to give us an update on where they are, that might be pertinent. I just didn't want to be prescriptive. I didn't think we wanted to be prescriptive as a commission on how that happens. Does it make it clearer?
Yeah, I just, I mean, at some point, that may not be a bad idea prior to it coming August, whatever date that was, to give us an update on where they are, where they're thinking.
I don't know that this date
Is that a soft
was
date?
meant to be a formal motion on the table.
Right.
It was just a presentation deadline. So I guess if you guys move fast, you move fast. But take note, I guess, is what you're saying, that you don't necessarily want to see a motion come to the table on August 30th and it be the first time you see this.
Absolutely.
Okay, noted, absolutely.
And that this is not something we're adopting tonight as it is. It is a working document.
Exactly.
Again. I did notice that we had included something about elevation of education levels.
It's a
in
generic,
here under empower upward economic mobility. I think we mentioned, should we include anything about the growth of the city as far as population? So I think I would just put throw that out as something that we should consider.
Yeah, I do think if there's some experts out in the audience that want to help me on this one, from what I understand, the kinds of things that we've put in place it could be argued that those are the activities to get to a growth of a population. There's so many outlying factors about growth of population that I'm not that comfortable nailing the staff down on that one. I guess maybe it could be more of a statement about what our intentions are. Yeah, I don't know really where that lands, but
we'll keep it in
I'd like to see that as an overall.
Yeah.
That might be like a vision more than an actual category.
Right.
To grow a population.
Be a nice thing. I'd be all for it.
Any other thoughts, comments? Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Abraham?
Aye.
Commissioner Holland?
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Harless?
Aye. All right, Commissioner Rhodes.
Yes, ma'am. I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Paducah, Kentucky, reclassifying the city clerk and chief building inspector positions within the City of Paducah as non-civil service. This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance reclassifies the positions of city clerk and the chief building inspector from civil service to non-civil service. Notwithstanding the reclassification, persons currently in those positions will continue to be covered under civil service statutes until their employment ends.
Second. Ms. Martin?
Martin, are you here?
Holding down the back row.
I guess a high-level overview would probably be necessary if you haven't been thinking about civil service in a while.
Because we're certainly going to be civil.
We all want to be civil, that's right.
Well, good evening, Mayor, Commission, City Manager. What this does is just exactly how it was read, where those who are currently in those positions will stay as civil service until their term of employment expires, and then when those positions become available for a new hire, then those positions will then be classified as non-civil service. We actually have things in place or protections in place in the event if we have to look at any other action that is taken up against that position that I feel strongly about, that I think will satisfy any questions of us moving forward from civil service to non-civil service.
And civil service has a historical practice that really has kind of seen its day in a lot of governments. Is that correct? And it was put in place for the protection of the employee, whereby you have to have an appeals process. There's an appeals process. There's actually a commission.
There's a civil service
board that would do that. And we have 2 or 3 positions left, I think. 2. Okay.
Out of all our positions. Several years ago, we reclassified pretty much every other position in the city of Paducah, and those were the 2 remaining positions that are left.
So these are the last 2.
Right. And one of those we found out by statute, by state statute, is no longer allowed to be a civil service position. That's the city clerk's position.
Oh.
And so that left us with 1. And understanding that these were 2 sets of positions, and that back in the day, these are people who had to tell the commission and everybody else no from time to time. The building inspector always breaking bad news to people, city clerk holding people to the line, and those were positions that had to have some extra protection. At this point, the state statute does not allow the city clerk to be a civil service position, so that would mean after, say, in 10 or 12 years, when all the positions are emptied out of civil service people as they retire, leave the city, we'd have to have a whole civil service board for 1 position of the building inspector, the chief building official. And right now, we don't even call that position a chief building official in the city under the fire prevention.
A couple of things. One, what do we have in place now that that would serve as a civil service protection net, if you will?
Well, I think if you look at the I call it the chain of command, more or less, when you're talking about the city manager, the commission, and of course the mayor that's in place, along with the HR director. So those things are looked at prior to any action being taken. And if there is somewhat of a discrepancy in that disciplinary action, then it will be brought before those bodies prior to us even taking an action that would be taking place.
Well, I don't see where this declassification of these two positions would be.
That's not the proposal, Commissioner, just so you know. The proposal isn't to declassify the current people in those positions.
No, I understand.
Okay.
But
just
moving forward.
Right. Yeah.
Right, I understand that. I was here when we had city clerk pressured quite intensely, and if it would have come to 3 votes, it should have probably been gone. This position here, civil service position for the clerk, was put there for a reason, and I believe that position should be left the way it is because of one particular reason, that new administration comes in and you want to bring your people in. It's happened before, it could happen again. Chief building inspector, that carries a lot of influence. You don't want that position subject to pressure to go one way or the other. You want those 2 positions to be governed by law, not subjected to or pressured by any elected body to do something that's questionable. So I don't know how this would benefit the city to reclassify. How's that a benefit to us?
Well, you said we couldn't keep the clerk under Kentucky law as civil service.
It's under
that would be
state
illegal
statute.
under Kentucky law to keep the city clerk as a civil servant.
How is that?
That was given to us by Stacy Blankenship.
That's an opinion.
No,
that's her opinion.
Statutory change.
It was statutory change. In, I think 2015.
And why was that? Why was that
Not
changed?
a legislator. I don't know. That's a legislature.
I mean, she didn't explain that.
That's a legislature decision, so I don't know. It wouldn't change our decision.
if we're paying a lawyer to give us an opinion, you would think that would be explained in the opinion.
I don't think we asked for an opinion, did we? She just.
Surely we did. Surely,
Well, that doesn't change. That doesn't change the fact that if it's a state law, we can't go against it. So yeah, we can ask opinions all day long and go find out just for our intellectual knowledge.
Why they did that.
But it doesn't change the fact right now that we can't legally have that position.
Was this question ran by a city attorney?
Stacy Blankenship.
Yeah.
Dave Denton.
Well,
they both serve as city attorneys. They both.
But did we ask his opinion?
Stacy represents us as well.
Yeah. On human resources.
In most of the human resources, it's been under Stacy.
Well, my conversation with David is that would be a major mistake to declassify that, and I asked him about the state's reclassification, or that is illegal for that position to be, and he took a little issue with that. So I don't see how it's benefiting the city to have the clerk, who is the gatekeeper to the commission, to be subject to an administration that may come in and want to do something.
But I'm just want to clarify. Dave Denton told you a different opinion than what Stacy told us? You asked Dave about this and he said something different?
No, I asked Dave about it and he's like, I don't know about that.
Okay. So this is just an introduction, so it sounds like we have some fact-finding to do. So let's make sure that we get the statutory language from Stacy that demonstrates that. And then if Commissioner Abraham wants to talk to Dave, you may. It sounds like that's the biggest thing we need to find out first, if this position has to be declassified.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the building inspector, as long as he stays here and he stays in his job, I guess this is
It's the
less.
current Les Fugate in the
Let's
position.
Fugate, then he's covered.
He remains as a civil service employee.
Well, the position is civil service protection. The person that's in there, whoever serves in that position,
Right.
and that's another key spot. I mean, I would love to think that everybody does everything the way they're supposed to be doing things, and there's not any pressure from any outside folks to try to persuade folks to do things a little differently. I would love to think that, but you and I both know that's not true. So that civil service position, that works both ways. If a person in that position feels that they've been mistreated, being bullied, feel that their job is in jeopardy because they won't do something untoward, then okay, you got to bring charges on that position to accuse someone. You just can't fire them. On the other hand, if those folks in those positions are doing something outside the lines, then that works both ways. So I don't see how that's a benefit to the city to declassify.
How does it work both ways? I don't understand.
Well, I mean, if we have an employee in one of those positions and they're doing something that's outside the lines, and we can prove that, then we go through the steps to prove that, right? You understand what I mean?
The steps with the Civil Service Board?
Right. Okay. On the other hand, if that person in that position, the city clerk or the building inspector, if they feel that they're being pressured to do something that's outside the lines, then they have an avenue to go to lay that out.
No.
They don't.
No, they don't get to go talk to the board and tell the board about their
No.
internal workings of their employment. That's not what that's for. It is an appeals board. It is a board by which, for your examples, if someone is working and the city manager says, we're going to let you go, that person can then make an appeal to the Civil Service Board and bring their case before this group of people. It's like
Right.
3 members, I think.
3 or 4.
3 or 4 community members we appoint. On your flip example, that's definitely not the case. Because if they have a problem, if they're not doing something that the city manager thinks needs to be happening, it's the same thing. The city manager then says, this isn't right for you, and then they can appeal the process again. So it's just an appeals
Well, and I
process.
think what
That's
Martin
all.
is saying is there is a process. If they feel
Right.
like they're getting pressured, they can go to their department head. If they feel like the department head is not listening to the department, they can go to the city manager. They can go to Martin. Like, in order for a building inspector to be pressured politically and feel like their job was at stake, it would have to be the department head, the city manager, and at least 3 members of us plotting against them. So I don't really understand.
Not necessarily.
They're covered.
I mean, if there's a project that I know that if there's a project in the city that's a big deal, and it needs to be done, okay. Now what you just laid out is like, okay, I'm on the phone calling the guy, telling him to get it done. You're on the phone telling the guy to get it done. That's typically is not the way it works. There's another guy out there. It's like, look, we need to get this done. And if you understand what I'm saying, you'll get it done. So, I mean, that happens all the time.
But to Commissioner Holland's point, that has to be 5 people putting that kind of pressure.
That's what he's saying, the chain of command. There's so
It's
many
protective.
people in between them and who gets to remove them from their job.
I don't believe not necessarily. I don't know why what are you saying? It's got to be 5 people. It's got to be us 5.
Can you help me clarify, Martin?
Yes, the process would be, for instance, in your example that you brought forward, if there was some type of
Coercion.
let's just say corruption in place, and we found out that there was some corruption in place, and that individual was tied up in that corruption, and then there was charges, and we had provable evidence against that individual that was that we could prove that that individual done something that was, ill-advised. then of course we would bring charges against that individual. But it still has to go through a process by which not only the HR department would have investigated and confirmed those charges, but then that actually goes from my office, from that department to the HR department to the city manager. The city manager looks over that information as well. He signs off on it, and then he also brings it to the commission for their blessings if they decide by that information that it is accurate.
Well, I understand that. Okay. If you have an administration or a group of people, elected officials, that sees a particular project is something that we need to get done, and this person right here, you need to sign off on it. Okay, what's he do?
Go to his department head and then HR and then the city manager.
Okay, what if the pressure?
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, but what if the pressure is coming from those folks?
Then that's a conspiracy, and that's a big conspiracy.
So I mean, okay, so maybe it's just me, but I guess none of that's never happened before.
I think that's in our current form of professional government. It is highly unlikely to have a conspiracy of the department head, the HR department, the city manager, and the city commission.
Okay, I think that's why that position was made civil service.
I mean, we have a lot of positions.
Other positions that would fall under the same conspiracy
these concerns, and they're not under the civil service protection, and we don't seem to have massive conspiracies of corruption. So
yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't see how it's in the best interest of the. It's more beneficial. It's beneficial to the city to declassify once these current folks are gone, to declassify that. And I think we need to get some clear language on the clerk's position before we decide to declassify that position.
Okay, well, I'm going to get that to you. Lindsay did just hand it to me, and there's an email from Stacy Blankenship that says the definition of employee under the civil service statute excludes the city clerk. And then there's all the supporting documentation. But we'll make sure that we all have this because it's just an introduction. So we'll make sure we all get this between now and the next meeting, okay? So we can all look at it. I'm going to move us on if that's okay. All right? Okay. Commissioner Holland, you have a motion?
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, An Ordinance of the City of Paducah, Kentucky approving a First Amendment to the Professional Service Agreement for engineering services required to complete the project design plans, construction, administration, and inspection services for the improvement of flood control pump stations number 2 and number 9 with HDR Engineering, Inc., and authorizing the execution of said First Amendment. This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance approves and authorizes the execution on behalf of the City of the First Amendment to the Professional Engineering Services Agreement with HDR Engineering, Inc., relating to the expansion of the scope of services to be rendered by HDR Engineering, Inc. in connection with the design, construction, administration, inspection services of flood control pump station number 2 as required by the U.S. Department of the Army.
Second.
Thank you.
What she said. Mayor Commission, I know this is, I'm hoping maybe in about 2 years, our renovations on the flood wall in its entirety will be over. This has been an ongoing saga with the Corps of Engineers, some 19 or 20 years ongoing. So, but one thing I want to bring to your attention about this, we, as a result of some errors, you recall that the Corps came here, Linda Murphy, the Deputy Chief of the district, came and spoke with you all and said, we at the Corps made some errors and it's delayed our project. As a result of that, we took Pump Station 2 and Pump Station 9 in our possession to complete those designs. When we did, we entered into a contract with HDR. Total contract was $132,500 to take those and put those in a professional engineering design package that they, HDR, could stamp and say, we stand by this product. Corps of Engineers don't stamp their plans. They just, put them out. It's federal government. They put them out, you build them, and there's not an individual that's responsible for them. Private sector doesn't work that way. They have liability that goes with their company. So when they took that, they said, we'll work these plans, redesign them, and get them ready. As a result of that, the Corps did a little did a little unexpected maneuver on us. What they did is they said, okay, now that you're doing them outside, you've got them in your possession, you have to submit what we refer to as a letter of no objection for us to review those plans. So during that process, they said, we would like for your engineer to make these changes. So on pump stations 2 and 9, where I think $75,000 was for the design portion of it, they went over because they were having to make the changes that the Corps wanted them to make, which ballooned that design up to around $94,000 to complete the design on pump station 2 and 9. We actually built 9 in-house with your in-house staff. We bought the parts, we put them in. With what we're doing with pump station number 9, now they want a third-party inspector 100% of the time on the project over and above that. This is what the Corps would do. So as a result of that, HDR had construction administration, which was about $91,000 beyond their existing contract, and then another $136,000 came into play for this full-time inspection while the contractor is working. So what we're putting before you this evening is a change order to HDR in the amount of $227,000 that covers those amounts. However, all these monies count toward your match with the Corps on 65 cents on the dollar. So we're always watching those numbers. Now, the one thing we're looking at, the total project is estimated at $32 million. We are looking at 35% of $32 million. We're monitoring, Megan and myself, we're constantly monitoring to make sure we don't breach our 35% because we may not get that back. So we're staying within our 35% and saying, okay, you're requiring this stuff, but you're pushing our limits here. We're up to around, when we let this project, we'll be around 8 to 8.5 million total on our part, of which we have an $11 million requirement. So, and a lot of these, we are being granted dollars from SRF funding with forgivable loans, CDBG, $1 million from them. So a lot of this money we're talking about is outside monies, DRA as well. So we've been very, very fortunate in getting outside help on this project. But this will keep the project moving, and I'm hoping that we won't have anything else, because once 2 and 9 once 2 is complete, it's 100% Corps. Other than we have some additional match we have to do. We're putting the flap gates on. We're doing some things that we've already agreed to do in-house. That's part of our match, so we're watching that.
Any questions for Rick? Thank you very much for your work on that. Want to stay up here? Mr. Abraham.
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance accepting the bid of Jim Smith Contracting Company, LLC, for the City of Paducah's calendar years 2018 and 2019 street resurfacing program, and authorizing the mayor to execute a contract for same. This ordinance is summarized as follows: accepting the bid of Jim Smith Contracting Company, LLC, for the City of Paducah's calendar years 2018 and 2019 street resurfacing program, and authorizing the mayor to execute a contract for same. The contract has a 1-year renewable option ending December 31st, 2020, upon mutual agreement by the city and Jim Smith Contracting Company, LLC. The unit bid price are as follows. What is that?
Bituminous.
Bituminous?
Bituminous.
Bituminous. Surface base, 1 ton. Unit bid price, $75. Milling texture, unit weight, 1 ton, $50. Shoulder construction, unit weight, 1 ton, $40.
There's good news here.
Second.
There's good news here. The price of
prices went
asphalt's gone down. The petroleum indices are down, and we've gone from $81 a ton to $75 a ton.
Wow.
So that's a good number. So yeah.
Let's
find some more things to pay.
Bid it like tomorrow, the next day, because oil is edging back up. So I think you sweet spot.
Right, and
which is probably a good reason we can get that.
And that's the beauty. That's the beauty
well, that changes too.
of getting these contract amounts. But I will say this: in 20 years, our asphalt prices have tripled, and our milling prices have tripled, but our budgets have remained the same. But I'm just saying, as materials go up, we do the best we can with them. But this is good news. It actually went down.
Okay.
Any questions, thoughts? Thank you.
That's good.
Mr. Interim City Manager?
Yes. The city clerk asked me specifically to nail down a date for her. She's looking at not having, since we're so busy on the first part of the month, not having the meeting on May 22nd, since that's the date that y'all will be doing interviews for the city manager position, and move that to May the 29th.
I think you had Citizens Academy graduation scheduled for that night. I mean, I don't know if that's a problem, but I do remember having that. It is election day too. I do remember having that. Which
The
doesn't
22nd.
impact us.
The 22nd is?
Yeah, it doesn't impact us, but I knew you had
Can you move
Citizens
that?
Academy graduation.
She's sitting in the middle of the room
We can do that?
telling us.
Okay.
So we're not going to have commission meeting on the 27th, 29th.
Right.
Basically.
You'll have interviews on the 22nd.
Right.
29th commission meeting.
It is Memorial Day week.
Just be prepared
It's
for the
the
next 3
Tuesday
weeks. We're going to be
after
tied
the
up.
So we're going to use up all of your May
You are.
while we're at it. So
Use up all of our
Budget meetings, city manager
I know.
interviews, and commission meeting.
So I get the big money.
and we appreciate your work on that too. Thank you. That's all.
Okay. Any other comments from the commissioners?
Yeah, I have one. In the letter that we got, the document we got from our attorney that was giving their opinion on what we just finished talking about, it was stated in there, it was the opinion of the Board of Commissioners that this would benefit the city to declassify those positions once the folks that are in there are already gone. Nobody asked me my opinion. Now, I don't know about the rest of you guys.
I haven't been asked either.
Well, it was worded that way, which insinuates that there was a discussion at some point, and I voiced my opinion that I would be in favor of it. So I don't know.
I haven't even seen what you're talking about.
I think
You
that's a
wanna pass it over
misprint.
so
And we
the
really
rest
don't
of
need to be
us
talking about business when it's not on the table, just so you know. But,
well, when I'm mentioned in a document that I've given my opinion, and I didn't give my opinion, I got issues with that.
yeah, you should. The city clerk is not here right now, so I don't know who is probably the person who drafted that, or was it email between? Do you have
It
any?
was drafted by Stacy Blankenship.
Okay.
And I think the idea here is that once it is adopted, if it is adopted, then it will be the consensus
Can I
of.
see the email?
So what you're looking at is
It is a draft.
proposed draft of a
If it
municipal
is-
order.
If
Yeah.
it is
Or
denied.
an ordinance.
I mean, if it does not pass, then it won't be the opinion of it will no longer be a document.
Right.
Can you share with
Yeah.
us what you saw that you're referring to?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
let's pass that. Yeah, pass that.
it was in our packet.
No, it wasn't.
No.
She just gave you a copy of what Lindsay had.
No,
Oh, you're
it
talking
is
about-
not what I was talking about. It was in our packet that we got. It was a whereas.
Right. It's a
Right.
proposed
It's a
ordinance. If the ordinance passes, the ordinance will then say, it is the opinion of the Board of Commissioners that it be
They're all
beneficial.
phrased like that.
Right? If it passes, this is a proposed ordinance language.
Yeah.
Only if it passes. Will it say that in the official record of the city?
I thought you were talking about the email.
Yes.
I thought you were talking about the email too.
No, I was not talking about the email.
They all say that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
with the idea that we pass them and then it would be the opinion of the Board of Commissioners because it's passed. But they have to introduce the language. I mean, that's how it starts.
I'm not sure we have a choice. If it is a state law.
But we should not continue this conversation.
Yeah, we're going to
because
talk about
it's
this
not
next
business
time.
on the
Okay.
table.
Yeah. Okay, anything else anyone needs to chat about?
I would like to say something.
Oh, sure.
So I was reading a book. I like to read books. That sounds a weird way to start what I was going to say. That I highly recommend to everyone. It is called Grateful, which I think we see as individual practice, which is important. But what I really loved about this book is that it talked about gratitude as a communal practice as well. It said the politics of gratitude necessarily leads to a focus on the common good and a whole life commitment to securing conditions that reflect the worth and dignity of all. And I thought that was just such a beautiful thought to bring to politics and government, especially as we begin our budget process, to express gratitude for our community, for the fact that we have resources to make decisions about. Some communities are in much worse conditions than we are fiscally. And while we have, as we always have, important decisions to make and fiscal responsibilities and conversations to be had, I thought that was such a nice attitude in which to approach this, was gratitude for the opportunities presented to our community. I feel very grateful to be in a position of public service to the community as we make these decisions, and as opposed to sort of approaching this as a slog and scarcity mindset. So I just thought that was a really lovely attitude to bring to governments, is gratitude for this community, gratitude for the resources we have and the decisions we have to make, with the idea that these resources are for the common good of all. I wanted to share that.
That's good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have one, I think, public comment. Mr. McNeil, come on up.
Thank you.
We're going to get you a stamp card.
Thank you. I made a request last month, and I just want to know if I got a response.
There's a proper process for doing that. It's an open
Okay.
records request, and you just make that into the city clerk's.
You make a request to all the information that I need to the city clerk?
City clerk's office, yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your cooperation. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, if there's no other business, then I am going to make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
See you tomorrow.
All in favor? All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.